My name is Rick Ortiz. I'm friends with Benjamin. He's asked me to speak on BLM, Black Lives Matter. Before I go into that, though, I'd like to state that I am not black. I am POC. I am of Mexican descent, but that is irrelevant for the topic that I want to focus on, which is BLM and why that has to be the prevalent message into as why I'm even going to talk here. With that said, before we go into what happened to Wichita, we have to look at what was already happened in other cities. Now, you have certain resources at your own disposal to distinguish that if cops or protesters were the ones causing the riots. I pause there for you guys because I'm specifying that BLM is its own movement. Protesters, as everybody agreed just in the last 2 weeks or whatever, when we're not going to name any specific Capitol buildings were faced with protesters, they were permitted to protest because this is all our rights as citizens. All I want to do is distinguish these things because we have to understand certain aspects that could be causation. Now that could sound like conspiracy theory. So let's step away from national things, since y'all might or might not have these resources and people in places that you get to talk to and whatnot. So what I will do now is say for here, specifically in Wichita, Sunday night, just west, the park just west of 21st in Arkansas, had a bunch of people whom are, I'm not giving them a title, but self-proclaimed gangbangers whom dropped their sets, both black and Mexican, came together for a peaceful gathering. They didn't even want to call it a protest themselves. These, whatever you want to call them, but I'm going to call them what they are, poor impoverished people of minority communities came together at the specific location, and on Sunday night, not a single person was shot. Not a single person was jumped. No violence, no police presence, nothing happened. And everybody went home. Then we go to Monday, and the police on Cake News themselves even stated that they've cut off Waco to Arkansas on 21st for the protest. Okay? Now they themselves have distinguished their protest and said, yes, you may gather here. Now I still haven't got to even take in all the videos that everybody's been sharing, but I would like to state that the only time even here in Wichita that something has broke out is when there was a police presence. I heard those rumors of National Guard coming in. I'm just spelling that because I myself didn't see them. What I did see, though, on my way home between Broadway and Market around 16th was at least 6 cars, both black and white, that were definitely not regular city police. They were definitely not military, but they definitely had some form of uniform that seemed to designate them as superiors of some sort. And it was definitely these cars that I've never seen in Wichita before. I'm not saying that the PD didn't have them, because I think it does belong to them, but this was at 8:30 approximately when I was heading home in the evening. And they were all the way over there. So if we add up everything, we could sit there and figure out that perhaps, maybe, not everybody that's being called a looter and a rioter is doing that. And the reason why we have to bring it back to the Black Lives Matter is because this is also essentially true. In Chicago, in Buffalo, I know both people that are within the now gentrified or slowly gentrified areas, and I also know people that are not Chicago, because that's a different story for a second. But in this aspect, now bringing it back to Chicago, not the gentrification part, bringing it back to Chicago, including Buffalo, I know personally are also protecting their own neighborhoods. Okay?
They're policing their own neighborhoods?
Yes, they're protecting their own neighborhoods. These are citizens of color protecting their own stuff. So how are all of them out there rioting? Now again, let's bring it back to Wichita, back to Sunday night. If we want to get into some of the words that these people chose to go on Facebook and classify themselves as gangbangers, this and that, thugs is what the media would like to call them. But here's what I'd like to point out. These guys literally came and had a peaceful gathering, and I would love to call it a protest. But because they won't designate that, I respect them to not designate that. And I say it's a gathering like they called it. And they police themselves.
And these are groups that don't necessarily always get along.
We really have to think deep on that.
We really do.
Because again, I've always, one of my greatest grievances with Wichita is it's a microcosm about 5 minutes behind, meaning 5 to 3 years depending on what's going on. But I've also stated within that criticism, there's a beautiful hope that because you guys are so far, you could get ahead of it. Wichita, the all-encompassing areas, and we could go on into that in one of your other podcasts because you already know where my other topics I want to talk about lies. Mm-hmm. But the specific topic is BLM. Did they come together for that or not? I don't know, but I think that's a beautiful ass sign of solidarity. That, like, dude, I even told my homies how, because of my travels, I've only done protests in occupied white places where I'm behind the silent voice of the native or the BLM. I've never got to witness that myself. Not for mine. And it happened here. So when we think about, oh, it's hopeless, when we think about it, it ain't changeable. It is never too late, but you gotta sit there and know. You gotta recognize and see the differences. And on the point of Black Lives Matter, to hit home, we could all be anti-fascist. Because if you're against a woman being beat, you're anti-fascist. If you're against your gay brother, if you're pro your gay your brother having a male lover, you're anti-fascist. If you don't like the elderly being harmed, you're anti-fascist. If you don't like the homeless and destitute, you're anti-fascist. So understand that's what really anti-fascist means. And granted, some people are going to get behind that and say they are. Don't let that happen, not to the BLM movement, because they are doing their own thing, and that is a different thing. Many different groups are trying to silently get behind them. Try to please distinguish the difference between all these groups. And if you want to help, if you really want to help, again, I'm not from Wichita. I don't really want to get involved in Wichita politics because I feel that I'm too outspoken and mean in my style of talk. I'm too direct, and I will call you out. And a lot of people don't like that. That's not just a Wichita thing, that's people. But if you do want to help, you know your true community. You know who are the BLMs, the true Black Lives Matter people. Please, go to them and ask them how you can build a white wall of silence to protect them, perhaps. Or if you want to try to take it upon yourself, all you guys know how to use scanners. Make sure to get a group of like-minded people and try to at least form a protective wall around. At the same time, I'm not stating put yourself in harm's way, and I'm not even stating this can't apply to Wichita.
Sounds like you're talking about community.
What's that?
It sounds like you're talking about community in general. Coming
Exactly.
together.
Community coming together. Yes, exactly. But the key thing I keep on saying here is silence. If you want to get behind BLM, you must get behind it silently. And our parents both wanted change, and all their generation, and their generations before them. But in truth, in essence, we've only kind of reverted to this few and select noble people. But let's not get into that though too much, because I want to begin focus about the BLM, and that is most of the why messages. But yes, right now, everything going on, the main message that has to be heard is Black Lives Matter.